Francis Crochet used to own it. That's a nice noise. Anyway, I've been distracted. Good thing is there's enough solder in these old joints to fill up the gaps again. That looks a pretty good joint there. Needs 3 hands to do the job. Once I hit that. Sorry for 1 minute. What's the next bit? Foot. It'd work on brass, nickel, silver, silver plate, and some of these are, I think, silver plated Britannia metal or something like that. Like this one feels quite solid, but the actual silver coating of it is harder than the metal underneath it. Sometimes it just sort of, you're left with like a really thin shell of that, that metal. You've got to watch this one because sometimes it squirts out and it's in your eye. Which can wake you up a little bit. Frame baking without your shirt on. This bloke is at the most, you'd love this scrapyard. It's all gone now because he must have sold everything for millions of pounds, because he used to take all the old army lorries, fire engines from the 60s, buses, military buses with all this insignia painted all over them. And in this works, which was built about 1840, and this scrapyard was gigantic, used to cover maybe 15 acres. And you'd wander through it and you'd find a bus with a tree going up through the middle of the bus, out the roof of the bus. Used to have 1940s army lorries, rocket launchers, tanks, aeroplanes, all these things tucked away in the scrapyard. And whereas most scrapyards have a very savage dog, he had a savage cat. Because I went there once, I bought a bus manifold off him, and he wanted £60. I managed to knock him down to £20, and it was £15. It was a big old ginger Tom, and it was so matted, it had dreadlocks. Anyway, I think I knocked him down to £15, give him a £20 note. He went in the porter cabin to get the change, and the cat came running up to me. It was a big, it's near the size of our tables. The cat came running up to me. I went to stroke the cat. It slashed at me. It ripped 4 big bloody scratches down about my hand. And the man came out, blood dripping all over the floor, and the cat just pads away. Anyway, that's not the main story. The main story is, he was telling me that he'd been called out, him and his team of engineers, called out to Aberthorpe Power Station because basically you got these gigantic machines that are cooled by seawater. So there's a big U-shaped pipe that takes water from below the low tide mark, pumps it around the machines, it goes back through another pipe, and replaces the hot water into the sea. And one day, the turbine that drives the water around got clogged up. That means the water stopped flowing. That means the entire power station has to close down, which is probably £1 million an hour when you consider how much electric they make in, and how, when they close down, another power station somewhere else has to open up, which means big disaster. So he called this man in and said, look, something's clogged our intake pipe, our outtake pipe, come and sort it out. So him and his men came down, and they had to wait until low tide to access this big pipe, which is about 6 foot wide, which went just below the low tide mark. So they waded in up to their bellies in the mud and the sea and the water, and about 15 feet into this big pipe, there's a big heavy metal mesh meant to prevent fishes and things going in and out. they discovered that this mesh had been rusting over the years, and something had knocked a big hole right through the middle of it. So they took the mesh off. Again, they've only got half an hour window to work before the tide starts coming in. So they take the mesh off, they go in, and it's filthy. It's all like seaweed and mess and clay and incrustations everywhere along this pipe. And they go in, and suddenly it's really dark and slippery and horrible and stinky. And there's a big fan that's a bit further than this intake pipe. And the fan has, well, it's got a gigantic sort of marine motor in it that's waterproof that drives this enormous fan. They probably move about 6,000 gallons of water a minute. Yet something has gone in, and is actually, something alive has gone in and is jammed this big fan. And they can see there's shreds of flesh hanging off it, and there's bits of blood and, quivering lumps of meat all over the place. And what they're wondering what the hell's gone in there. Something really big, enough to stop this fan. I mean, you move 6,000 gallons of water a minute. That's a big machine. That's the size of a bus engine moving this water, because water's heavy stuff. And it's got to go under pressure as well to pump it all around the factory. What they work out is that because the water coming out is warm, creatures have gone in for a nice warm-up. Fish go in there for a warm-up, but also the things that eat the fish have gone in there to prey on these big fish. And this situation must have been going on for years and years, because a conger eel had gone in and made its home just inside this big mesh. And the conger eel had just grown and grown to tropical proportions, because the temperature of the water is probably 35 degrees. And so this thing thought it was in the Pacific, where they grow enormous. And it had grown so big that it'd become like 11 foot long. And one day it had just gone in a bit too far, and the fan had chopped it into segments. But he'd only chopped it a few times because it was that big. They were taking home steaks of eel that big. So if that's not a monster, what is?